The Ontario Court of Appeal has ruled in the case of a retired violin teacher who was accused of sexually assaulting young female students in the 70s and 80s. Claude Trachy was found not guilty of 51 offenses last year. Now, the Crown appealed that verdict. A hearing was held in May. CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick covered that hearing, and right now she is standing by live right outside the Toronto courthouse where that hearing happened, and there is a ruling. What is it, Megan?
Yeah, so the ruling was just posted online on the court's website, Suhanna, and Trachy had been those offenses related to 4 different kinds of charges: sexual interference, sexual exploitation, indecent assault, and sexual assault. And what the Court of Appeal ruled today is that those not guilty verdicts on the sexual assault and indecent assault should be overturned. So in other words, they are imposing now guilty verdicts instead of the not guilty verdicts just on those 2 kinds of offenses. And on the indecent assaults and interference charges, they have ordered a stay on those. So in other words, Trachy has lost his case now, and the court has found him guilty. That is what the Crown was asking for in their appeal of this case. So the Court of Appeal writing in their decision for this that they agreed that the lower court trial judge erred in his decision. The trial judge had accepted Trachy's evidence that he did not touch these students for a sexual purpose. What more than 20 women, now adults, had alleged is that they were teenagers and students of his in the 1970s and 80s, that he asked them to remove their shirts and bras in order to measure their chest area to fit them for a shoulder rest for their violins. Now, the judge had accepted his evidence that he was doing this not with a sexual purpose, but the Court of Appeal, Suhanna, saying sexual purpose is not an essential element of these offenses. They write that the trial judge relied too heavily just on that one aspect of the case, the sexual purpose case, that he conflated touching for sexual purpose with touching in circumstances of a sexual nature. They also say the trial judge erred in his ruling because he only made passing reference to the testimony from the women, that the trial judge described the touching as minimal, and that the trial judge didn't address the whole idea of Trachy being in a position of trust, given that he was in a teaching position, teaching these young girls. I just want to read one part of the end of the decision where they explain it. The Court of Appeal unanimously, by the way, wrote, the respondent agreed that the respondent being Trachy, intentionally touched the breasts of his young female students. They were too young to consent. He did not touch the boy's chest, nor did he touch the breasts of his own daughter. The sexual integrity of the complainants was violated. But for the error by the trial judge, the concrete reality of this case establishes proof of the sexual and indecent nature of the touching beyond a reasonable doubt, and they're saying those acquittals cannot stand. What happens now? The Court of Appeal will send the case back down to the lower court for sentencing on the now guilty verdicts on some of those charges, Suhanna.
Thanks for that, Megan. CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick in Toronto.